He's committed to visual storytelling and running up the hill to be a filmmaker eventually. He recently graduated from the Asian College of Journalism in Chennai with a specialization in interactive and multimedia storytelling. Before journalism, he wrote across various niches as a content writer and curator. With the skills and experience he learned in that trade, he also tries to put that to use as he pursues his stories. In today's episode, let's chat with Sourish Samanta on how LGBTQ lives are portrayed in media. This is the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a Better Future. This is your host Navin Samala, and I'm a fellow IT professional just on a mission to shape the careers and lives of millions across the globe. In every episode, we interact with industry experts or thought leaders or academicians or coaches across the globe to drive some insightful conversations that will help each one of you learn some amazing stuff. Also, we share an interesting trivia or a fun fact towards the end. Folks, you'll acquire more knowledge by tuning into TGV per every minute than any other podcast in this space. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we are going to discuss an important topic, how LGBTQ plus is portrayed in media. And we're pleased to have Sourish part of TGV's journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. Sourish, I'm super excited to have you join TGV's mission in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. And thank you so much for accepting our invite and being a guest on this show as part of our LGBTQ education series.
Thank you so much, Naveen. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad that you got in touch with me and we are doing this. You're doing a great job, and I've gone through most of your episodes. And I hope that you produce more and educate more. And like it's a great thing that you're doing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And on this note, I would also like to acknowledge Sahila Siraj, our intern, who connected both of us. And that's why we
Yes, yes,
thank you,
yes,
Sahila.
yes, yes.
I hope you'll be
Thanks,
listening to this
thanks, thanks,
episode.
Ella. Yeah.
All right. Now, let's jump into the topic today. This when it comes to this LGBTQ, they call them as minorities, right? That is
Hmm.
where many people in this community face some sort of confrontation and some sort of
Hmm.
molestation, and there are so many things that the adverse things that they face. Can we
Yeah.
briefly talk about two or three challenges that you face so far being a gay?
First of all, I'd like to say that there's like a lot of misconceptions to begin with. For instance, we would refer ourselves as not a gay, but like as gay or like that. That's how the grammatical part would work. When you said that, we face molestation and we face other crises, I mean, which is very true. Of course, we do. I mean, sexual harassment is something that a lot of LGBTQ persons face, but it's not the entirety of the kind of discrimination that is there, because there are institutional discrimination, there are other sorts of societal discrimination and socio-economic insecurities that are there. So it's like a wide distribution of discrimination that LGBTQ as a community faces. I mean, at least when it comes to India, I can say that, the layers of discrimination are very different. And if, in a global perspective, some of the parts of the community are doubly marginalized because we have an intersection of caste and class in India that we always look at and top that over with LGBT discrimination. So, there are communities within the community who are like doubly marginalized. So there are like various instances of different discrimination that one faces. So it all depends on the context and the kind of political background you belong, like political or socioeconomic stature you belong to.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think we need to spread a lot of awareness. In fact, that is one of the reasons why the TGV has picked up in terms of serving to the LGBTQ cause. And so that more awareness can be spread and people start discussing these topics openly and start accepting the diversity and inclusion. Right. On that note, let me pull up the recent controversy about a movie. Right, I don't recall the name of the movie, but it is trying to portray a gay military officer and all. Right, despite of this Article 377 being passed by Supreme Court. Right, why are these kind of controversies happening?
Yeah, so Onir is the director. So Onir wanted to make this movie called VR. He is known for making movies like My Brother Nikhil and One. And I think in most of his movies, he have always dealt with the intricacies of LGBTQ struggles and relationships, amongst other things that he has made in his movies. So the movie that Onir, the director, was trying to make, it's called VR, and it was still in the scripting, which is pre-production stage. And so the thing is that there's a rule that if you are adapting or making fictional characters or anything related to military or Indian military, army, navy, whatever, I mean, you need to pass that script through the Ministry of Defense. So that's the rule. So if they approve of it, then only you can go ahead with the script. So and following the protocol, he had sent the script to the Ministry of Defense, but it got rejected without giving any legitimate justification as to why it was rejected. And that is where the contention began. So 377 has nothing to do with this movie, first of all. And second of all, this 377 as a law prohibited sex of any unnatural order deemed by the court, and which also included homosexual activity. So the law was partially sacked, and so that is there. So it did not offer us any special status as human beings. It did not say that you can have marriage equality rights. It did not say that you will have special provisions for any reservations for that matter. So that is there. And when it comes to the movie, I think, which is very obvious at this point, the reason the script did not got approved is because it wanted to portray Indian Army in a way, because it would go against the values or ethos perhaps of the Ministry of Defense, because Ministry of Defense historically has been had homophobic instances where they would come up with certain policies. For instance, like there has been, I just would not name that person, but there has been instances where the very important people from the defense has said that we won't allow homosexual, gay, LGBT people in the army. Although there has been people who came out openly, and some of them even left army. So that is there. Those are the instances which are there as well. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, I think that makes sense. Sourish, now let's talk about your employment. Typically, when somebody is applying for a job, there is an option to disclose your sexual orientation, or at least the gender part, like male, female, and other kind of thing. And when you were employed by your current organization or previous organization and all, did you happen to disclose about your sexuality and all? And what was your take?
See, I mean, gender orientation and sexual orientation are two different things. I think you know that. And they did not ask him anything particularly about my sexual orientation. And it is something that companies don't. Perhaps they know, perhaps they don't. I wouldn't know that. I mean, of course, I'm open, and I've been very open about my sexuality for a very long time. So that might give them some information if they just give one Google search about me, or look at my Instagram or my Facebook. But apart from that, I mean, they would not outright ask me that what is what, and that wouldn't be ethical. It depends. If you are working in media, I think the media houses really do not give a damn who you are as a person. Of course, I mean, the ground realities might be different, but on an organization level, I mean, there are strict policies against discrimination. If you are getting discriminated as a person, as an employee, I mean, there would be certain redressal mechanism that you can go ahead with. But that's the thing, right? I mean, we don't know exactly how other employer is going to react, how your employer would react. So it all depends on the context and the kind of people that you would be around. For instance, I mean, although I am open in my organization, and although my team is fairly young and progressive in that sense, I mean, I never had any instances where I would be asked about who I am, or would be like there would be like a shock factor related to it. I mean, I did not honestly did not come across any instances on that. But I don't know. I mean, if I do, I mean, that would be something that I would deal with eventually. But I've had stories, I've heard stories from other friends, other colleagues, that like people who came out very open about the sexuality. There were so many instances they were discriminated, or it will be very subtle, because you cannot outright discriminate a person in an organizational setting. But these subtle things also hamper your mental health. It really puts you in a corner. It corners you. It makes you feel isolated. So these are some of the things that you might face, because there's always anxiety factor, because you feel like, yeah, I am out and all, but you don't know how the next person is going to react when they get to know you, right? So I mean, it's not the same when it comes to heterosexuals. So heterosexuality would be deemed as the normal thing, right? And it doesn't have that shock factor. But when it comes to homosexuality or other sexual orientations, and it would be like, oh, damn, you are gay, or how is it? They would make you feel like, oh, you have some unique disease, and they would like to know more. So although they are not necessarily coming from a bad place, but it would be very awkward, and it would be very, how should I put it, like just like won't work for me.
All right, I think that makes sense. Saurish, I think this has been great conversation so far, and I'm really
Hmm.
curious. Like, where do you find some avenues where you find partners or friends, okay, with the same sexual orientation and all?
So there are dating apps, like dating apps that heterosexual people would use otherwise, like Tinder, Bumble. You can always find love if you're looking for love, or want to connect with someone from a same orientation. It's easier to go through these applications and find that. There are other very specific applications like Grinder, for instance. Grinder is a platform where which is for LGBT people, although LGBT people do not necessarily the entire spectrum do not use that app, but necessarily gay men they use it. So that is there. And of course, there might be community events. It depends on which city you are from. It depends on which college you're from, and so you will always find communities and people where you can connect. And because I mean, there's always a sense of community when it comes to LGBT people, not necessarily, but like in university spaces or in any spaces of that sort. So it depends from geographic. For instance, I'm from Kolkata. There's a thriving LGBT culture there, in the sense that there has been a lot of gender sexuality movements, and there's a lot of NGOs who are working towards LGBT, and they're trying to bring that conversation out. So there's a lot of feminist groups there. So these are little cohorts that you can find where you can have the sense of community and find people of who you might like or might not like. I mean, it depends, huh?
All right. So
Hmm.
Tinder, and then you have Grinder app, and probably you can connect to the affinity groups within a particular city.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Tinder, Bumble, Grinder, Planet Romeo,
Hmm.
and there are other apps as well. But these three, like Tinder, Bumble, Grinder, these are like generally more popular,
Okay.
and it's pretty accessible. Anyone with a smartphone can download them, and they have to just create a profile. I mean, I wouldn't know like how secure this app would be, because that would again depend on the user and the kind of people that they're interacting with. But I mean, of course, in on dating apps there are horror stories. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of really bad experiences, be it like irrespective of sexual orientation on dating apps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always that, like that factor that there will be red flags all over, but you can just take a chance. I mean, it's not that bad.
All right. Now let's talk about yourself in terms of when did you realize about your orientation, and also when did you start opening it up with your family and friends, and
Right,
how was the
right,
reaction?
right. I have a counter question for you. I would ask you, when did you realize that you were straight?
To be honest, it didn't happen. Like, it was not a realization, or I don't know. Like, but I was keen on maybe when I started getting into puberty, right from 13 years, 14 years onwards. Maybe I started looking at girls.
Yeah, you have your answer then. It's nothing different. Yes.
Awesome.
So yeah, I do get the curiosity, and I know a lot of people who keep on asking me, because I mean that's the primary source of curiosity. Because this there's a concept that might seem alien, because that is a concept that does not align with their experience, with how they have went through puberty. So that's the first thing they would ask. But I mean, it's the same. It's just it comes to you naturally.
Yeah.
It's always like, but although it comes to you naturally, there's like another layer to it. There's a social layer to it, because you would feel like, am I supposed to do this? Because that is not how you were brought up. That's not the mold you are in. So you would keep questioning your own reality, right? So, and that's the biggest challenge. That's the biggest takeaway from any conversation, because it is always about the social aspect to it, right? Because otherwise it would be just be easier. I mean, because when you feel like a girl as a man, it would be like, yeah, I like a girl. You can talk to your parents about it. I mean, not like very directly because the Indian culture is very different. But in general, I mean, there's a sense of like acceptance that you know that yeah, I'm on the right path. But the moment you deviate away from that path, you feel like, oh, there's something different happening to me. You'd be scared. You'd be like, yeah, am I the only person going through this? Do I know anyone? Because obviously people wouldn't talk about it out in the open, right? So that is what a person goes through. That is what I have went through, and I know a lot of people who went through the same experience. So there's a template. The template being that you know that you know who you are from the get go. It is always a matter of acknowledging who you are, and then there's a choice whether you would want to whether you want to be out and open, and you do not want to be out and open, and that's fine. I mean, either way it's fine. It's your life, it's who you are, and you can take the call. That's the democratic thing about yourself, I guess. Hmm.
Fair enough. I think, yeah, that clarified a lot. And thanks for that counter question. I always love to be put on spot. And now, this has been a fabulous conversation so far, Sourish. And let's add some spice to the episode. I'm going to open up a few interesting rapid fire questions where you can answer them in roughly 1 to 3 words. That's it. Are you ready? So let me fire the first bullet out of the rapid fire, Sourish.
Hmm. Yeah.
What was your childhood fantasy?
My childhood fantasy would be to find the person that I love the most, settle down, have an anchor, grow old with someone, and perhaps open a publishing house, be a successful writer, stay somewhere in the hilltop, and like not give a damn about society. That's my childhood.
From what I've observed, I think except for staying on the hilltop, you're on your way of achieving all those things, right?
Yes, exactly. And also away from the general population.
Great. All right, let me move on to the next one. Okay, what would you bring to a desert island if you could bring only three things?
Oh, like it has to be like some sort of a tactical thing, right?
Up to you.
See, I mean, if I'm in a desert island and I'm alone, I need to survive because that's what humans do, survive. If I knew that I'm coming to a desert island from the get-go, I will first get a Swiss knife because it's multi-purpose and you can do a lot of things with it. Perhaps a lighter because I can light fires with it, and jeans, denim, any day because it's a wear and tear and I can like survive, and it would also save me from mosquito bites.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
Very creative. All right, let me move to my next question. If your life was a movie, who would
Hmm.
have the lead role and why?
Okay. As in, like, you want me to take like an actor who would play
Yep.
as me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is Ezra Miller? I would like Ezra Miller to play as me
Hmm.
because he is awesome. He's flamboyant. You might also see a movie called Perks of Being a Wallflower. He is in that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I closely related to that character to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he would play the lead role.
Awesome.
Hmm.
All right, so moving on. What is the funniest moment in your life so far?
The funniest moment in my life so far would be when it has been a lot of moments actually. It's actually moments where people have had weird questions about my sexuality and whatever. Like, for instance, there was this moment where this person had asked me, how do you guys intercourse? How does that work? You know? And I was like, we do not do anything. We just, rub our beards against one another, and that's how we do it. And he actually believed it. And then I had to explain him that, that's not how it works. You can just Google it up. And this is actually a very good question because I feel like there's a lack of sex ed in India. So it's just not LGBT problem, but rather like a general problem because lack of sex ed means, like you just do not have any idea what you're going on. And, that's also like misses a lot of messed up instances. So, yeah.
I get it. I
Hmm.
get it. All right, so moving on to the next one. What was your first drunk experience in case if you have done already?
Yes, I do. It was in 2018, sorry, 2019 New Year's, and I was getting drunk for the very first time. And a couple of seniors who just wanted to mess with me, and they were like, "Huh, get this kid drunk." And I think I was just 18 back then or 17. I don't remember exactly, but I was also had a major crush on this person, and it was like this entire phase that I was going through. That I just came out as a gay person, and I'm just exploring myself, and I fall in love with this guy who I know is straight and all, and I get drunk, and I was so miserable. I cried. I listened to all the kind of sad songs that you can think of, and I just was a I mean, I was just running around like doing dumb stuff and just like, the quintessential drunk experience where you do not know when you're getting drunk and you're just putting up a brave face saying that, oh, no, 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 I'm not drunk. I'm not drunk. I'm still sober. And then you're drunk. And the next moment you're puking all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, funny experience. All right. So let me fire the last bullet, Saurish.
Hmm.
What is one electronic gadget that you like to see or invent yourself?
Oh, yeah. A teleportation device any day. Like, just like, you've seen Doraemon, I guess. Doraemon is a very it has this anywhere door, and it just just pop it up any place, and they can go wherever they want. I mean, although I would say if I ever do invent a device like that, it would be used by the military, and that would have different connotations altogether. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, if I were to devise and keep it to myself, I would have a teleportation device. I can go anywhere I want. Like I'm having a busy day at work. Okay, let's just go to like a mountain and just have a quick tour, and then I'll come back to get back to work. So yes.
In fact, I'm a big fan of Doraemon door.
Oh, yes, I know. It's quite handy, right? Like imagine in a very uncomfortable situation where you just want to escape and you just like open the door and go to, I don't know, like USA or UK, I don't know, like walk down the street for 10 minutes and come back.
I get it. Yeah, that was
Mm,
amazing. Rapid fire. A lot of interesting
mhm.
stuff out there. With that, let me flip back to the mainstream and ask you one final question for today's conversation. Sorish, here is my last question before I let you go. What will be your one piece of advice, okay, to those who are stuck, okay, not being open up about their sexual orientation?
Advice would mean that I have some objective transcendental experience that I've had, and I can always say that, oh yes, this is going to work out for you. Just listen to me. I'm not like one of those life coaches, but I can just say two things. Always look out at your surroundings, because the circumstances matter a lot. Because what happens when it comes to being gay or LGBT person, and then coming out, there are two things you need to understand. There's like the security that you have. I mean, the monetary security, and the next thing is your own safety, right? Your physical security. Because things get hostile very quickly, and you wouldn't even anticipate, because the parents that you have been living with for years, and you don't know how they're going to react to it. I mean, it's all depends on how things pan out. But so like I think what I did, I can say that what I did is I had a sort of security in the sense I had some work. I moved out of my place eventually. So this gave me a lot of encouragement and power over myself to come out and like have that sense of belonging to myself first, and then I could go about it to my parents. But if you are someone who's struggling with your sexuality, in the sense that you are planning to come out but you can't, you're in that zone where you're thinking, should I or should I not, should I or should I not, if your gut tells you to do it, I mean, you should go ahead. But do consider about your own safety first, because that is very important. Find communities, because that helps. Even if you cannot come out to your parents or your immediate friends, find communities where you can find support. And having friends, allies is very important. Maybe your best friend to start with, because they are more close to you, they would understand you more. Just take it one step at a time, because I know it's a lot to ask for to a person who's already struggling. But I mean, taking it slow is also like it's easier for you as well, because when all the bombarding questions come at your direction, the moment when you come out, it's going to get overwhelming. So take it one step at a time, perhaps. And in terms of work, if you're thinking that you're LGBT and you're going to go to work, how it's going to pan out. But let me tell you, like, if you are someone who's ready to lead a double life, in the sense that you can disassociate from a work culture when a professional life and your personal life, then yeah, it's voila, it's going to work out for you. You wouldn't need to
give any accounts of your personal life to anyone. I mean, yeah, I have seen a lot of people do it. And but if you are someone who wants to be true to themselves, or rather want to, not have that boundary set up, so you just have to be a bit brave and go about it, and just think about this, in this sense, what's the worst that can happen? you know People will leave you, people will cut you off, they will embarrass you, but that's the thing, right? They are not paying for your rent. You are paying for yourself. You are doing things for yourself. You are the person responsible for yourself. So have that power within you. Are powering yourself, you are empowering yourself, so you don't need to give a damn about anyone else.
Wonderful. So
Hmm.
thank you so much for those tips. And Saurish, this has been a fabulous conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes,
And it's been absolute pleasure interacting with you.
thank you, likewise. I'm so happy to be here and answer all these questions.
So it was pleasure talking to Saurish. And folks, in case if
Hmm.
you have any references related to speakers who can speak on either LGBTQ topics or entrepreneurship or technology or personal transformation, just reach out to me through the guiding voice for you at gmail.com, or you can message me on any of the social media platforms, and we would love to host people that are passionate about spreading knowledge. All right. So before we move into the trivia section, it is a small request. In case if you haven't subscribed to the guiding voice on any of the platforms, request you to do so from the app where you have tuned in from, so that you will be notified of all the future episodes. Also, if you have loved this episode, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from TGV, so that your friends will learn new stuff like you and we will gain new subscribers. Thank you so much in advance. Now, let's cruise into the trivia segment of today's episode. And today's trivia is about the very first country to introduce same sex marriage. You know what was that? It was Netherlands. And as with many other progressive laws widening its citizens' rights and liberties, the Netherlands was the first country in the entire world to introduce full same sex marriage on the 1st of April 2001. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Folks, this is Naveen, your host and a fellow IT professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make difference in the lives of millions across the globe. Until next time, bye bye.